Early November. The prince's villa. Two maids carrying bamboo baskets entered Changji Garden, just in time to see a graceful figure standing beneath the octagonal pavilion. Inside the pavilion was a girl, dressed in simple mourning clothes, looking up at a green feathered parrot hanging from a bird stand under the eaves. Her face tilted upward, revealing her slender, white neck. Beneath her thin, plain clothing, her shoulders were slender, and her waist was slender. She was dressed in plain white, save for a hint of green on the jade pendant hanging from her waist. As she leaned slightly, it dangled from her slender waist, dangling in the air, occasionally colliding with her flowing black hair. The setting sun cast a soft glow around the girl. Despite her frail figure and simple clothing, her beautiful figure and graceful demeanor were evident. The maid clasped her hands together, gesturing, and whispered, "Young ladies from wealthy families are different. Look at that waist. You can hold it like this." The maid, startled back to her senses, replied softly, "Be careful what you say." Miss Yu was brought back by the Fuying guards. "I was just saying a few words in private," the maid said, her voice even lower. "If it weren't for her disfigured face, I'd have thought she was going to be taken in by the crown prince." The last half of the sentence trailed off between her lips. The two exchanged a glance, and fell silent. They followed a winding path and arrived just in front of a small pavilion. The young woman inside, named Yu Qiu, saw them and hurriedly stepped forward. Her skirt tucked in, she politely asked, "Are you all well, sisters? What can I do?" The maid saw her slender eyebrows, bright eyes, and rosy cheeks. Only her slightly pointed chin suggested she was too thin, and a long scar on her right cheek marred her beauty. Even so, even through her damaged face, one could still see her once stunning beauty. After a pause of regret, the maid smiled and said, "The plum blossoms in this garden always bloom early. We've come to take a look. If needed, we can pick some to fumigate our clothes." Yu Qiu's heart skipped a beat. He asked, "Is the crown prince back?" "He's back, resting up ahead." Yu Qiu's face paled slightly, but he forced himself to remain calm. Did Fuying come back with him? The two maids' expressions tightened, and they glanced around warily. Then, one on each side of Yu Qiu's arms, they whispered a scolding, "How dare you inquire about guard Fuying's whereabouts? Are you trying to save your life?" Fuying was Crown Prince Yunheng's secret guard. He always wore a mask, was elusive, and spoke little. On the rare occasions he appeared in the palace, he was stained with the scent of blood. The crown prince's whereabouts were no secret, but Fuying's comings and goings were forbidden to anyone. Her bright eyes dimmed, and Yu Qiu whispered, "I understand." She wore only a plain hairpin in her hair, her fine hair half tied and half loose, falling from her shoulders to her chest as she moved. Her black hair and white clothes, her long, curly eyelashes trembling, made her look even more pitiful. The maid in green seemed reluctant to let her go. She took her arm and led her to the pavilion, saying kindly, "Although the crown prince is harsh, he won't punish us without reason. You should teach the parrot to speak well. The crown prince will definitely fulfill his promise and help your father overturn the verdict. Don't be anxious." "Yes," Yu Qiu replied softly. Yu Qiu was the only daughter of Yu Qingshu, the Minister of Revenue. A few months ago, Yu Qingshu was arrested and imprisoned for treason. Yu Qiu couldn't believe the accusation. Her father had always been honest and dedicated to his work. She had no brothers. Aside from the servants, there were only the two of them at home, father and daughter. Their salaries and rewards were enough for them to live a comfortable life. Why would they be so scheming? However, her words didn't count. Yu Qiu panicked, begging for mercy from everywhere. The hardships and humiliation she endured were too numerous to describe. After 2 months of sleepless nights, Yu Qingshu was released, only to be stripped of his official position and his property confiscated, and exiled to Lingnan. On his way, something unexpected happened. His father tragically died before his eyes, and Yu Qiu, abducted for her beauty, was intercepted on the way. That day, a heavy rain fell, and half the man's face was covered by a black iron mask. The other half, blood and rainwater, flowed down, forming a red stream at his feet. He kicked the mutilated body aside, and the long sword, now shiny from the rain, parted Yu Qiu's messy, wet hair. Yu Qiu fell into the mud, his eyes hollow, as he leaned forward to let the blade pierce his throat. The man's voice, with a hint of meaning, as if speaking to himself, said, "Yu Qingshu's daughter," as expected. Then, with a flash of cold light, the long sword slipped from Yu Qiu's grasp. The man who arrived was Fu Ying, the crown prince's personal guard. He had killed many that day, and when he lifted Yu Qiu up, the heavy smell of blood filled her mouth and nose, staining her soaked yellow shirt a rouge crimson from his blood. Fu Ying had saved her, given her a jade pendant, and said, "The crown prince needs someone to teach his parrots to talk. If you want to save your life, go to the crown prince's villa." The family had been in ruins for over 2 months. Servants had fled or died, and even Yu Qingshu's former close friends had shunned them. Yu Qiu hadn't expected anyone to be willing to help her at this moment. Before he died, Yu Qingshu said, "An orphan girl with no one to take care of her, who is so beautiful, will most likely become someone else's plaything. Son, when Dad is gone, you can scratch your face. Dad probably knows who did it, and I can't afford to offend." At that time, Yu Qingshu knew that he was going to die, so he gave more instructions and nagging. "Your mother is very smart. People say that extreme intelligence will lead to harm, so she died early. For so many years, Dad was always afraid that you would be like your mother. But in the end you were not smart. It shows that everything should not be too extreme. Hey, it's better this way. It's good to have a big heart. Don't worry about the hatred and resentment. Just forget them when you wake up. The thing that Dad regrets most in his life is, I've been forcing you to cultivate your character. You've endured all these years, and you haven't had time to spend the money. I should have known better. Just enjoying life now. Eat and drink. Don't think how wonderful it would be." He paused, a hint of bitterness in his voice. "You'll be alone from now on, and it will be very difficult. Daddy can't bear to see you suffer. But as the saying goes, a good death is worse than a miserable life. You'd better live on. When you really can't bear it anymore, then die. Don't worry, Daddy is waiting for you down there, no matter how long it takes. So you won't be afraid. Why are you talking more and more? Your mother knows she'll dislike me. Well, Daddy's gone. Yu Qiu's last relative in this world was gone. The sky was high and the earth was vast, and she had nowhere else to go. But she still wanted to live, so she took the floating jade pendant and went to the prince's villa. Before entering, she scratched her face with a hairpin, leaving an ugly scar on her delicate face. Yu Qiu thought teaching the parrot to speak was just an excuse. But when the parrot actually appeared before her, her slow mind was unable to process. The season has turned from autumn to winter. For 3 months, Yu Qiu has been around the parrot, but it is stubborn and silent. If the maids had not said that the parrot can indeed speak, she would have suspected that the prince was just playing a trick on her by asking her to teach the parrot to speak. The early blooming red plum blossoms in Changji Garden contrasted with the dead leaves. Yu Qiu sat in front of the parrot for a long time. When the evening breeze blew with a chill, she shivered and realized that dusk was about to fall. She hurriedly took down the bird stand and walked into the house. Yu Qiu had something on her mind. She lowered her head and walked towards the window with the bird stand. Suddenly, she smelled a wisp of fragrance on the tip of her nose. She subconsciously looked up and saw the tall figure standing in front of the window. Her knees weakened and she almost knelt down. Standing by the window with his hands behind his back was Prince Yun Heng. Kneeling at his feet was a person. It was the green-clothed maid who had spoken to Yu Qiu earlier. The crown prince was exceptionally handsome and elegant, with particular attention to decorum. Regardless of the occasion, his clothing was always immaculately clean and wrinkle-free. Maids would pick early blooming plum blossoms specifically to fumigate his clothes. Because of his constant fragrance, a few years ago, while accompanying the emperor on tour to ask for directions, a naive child once called him Fragrant Young Master, to which he even smiled and responded. This nickname spread throughout the imperial city, and everyone knew the crown prince to be gentle and refined. A figure as elegant as the reeds and orchids on the banks of the riverbank. But this was all an illusion. Perhaps out of pity for her, Fu Ying had coldly warned Yu Qiu before she entered the palace that he had beheaded countless men, women, and children alike, all on the crown prince's orders. Yu Qiu wasn't afraid of the blood-stained Fu Ying, but rather of the smiling, hypocritical young master Shangshang. Moreover, she concealed a packet of poison in her sleeve, destined precisely for him. Yu Qiu hurriedly tightened her sleeves, placed the parrot on the table, and composed herself before greeting him. Yun Heng glanced sideways, his dark eyes shimmering with emerald green. He smiled faintly. How can you not even take care of your own things? Yu Qiu was unnerved by his smile. Before she could register what he meant, he flicked his fingertips and flung a wisp of green toward her. Yu Qiu instinctively caught it, realizing it was the jade pendant she'd once worn around her waist. The one Fu Ying had given her. How had it ended up in the crown prince's hands? Just as she was puzzled, the maid in green kowtowed, her head pounding, her voice hoarse. Your Highness, please spare me. I know I was wrong. I won't do it again. Your Highness, please spare me. I'm glad you did, Yun Heng said. The maid's face lit up, and she was about to thank him when he tapped the tabletop. Suddenly, a guard stepped forward, grabbed the maid in green, and dragged her away. I have said everything. Your Highness, please spare me. Your Highness, please spare me. The maid's terrified cry for mercy was still ringing when she was dragged to the door of the hall. But it stopped abruptly the moment the corner of her clothes disappeared over the threshold. Yu Qiu's heart was pounding, and he lowered his head and dared not look around. Yes, this Shangshang master has a good reputation outside, but he is actually a cruel and ruthless man. As long as the people below make the slightest mistake, even if a drop of water spills when pouring tea, or if they yawn while serving, they may lose their lives. Not to mention that it seems that the maid in green stole her jade pendant first. Put the thing away. Yu Qiu hurriedly put the jade pendant into his arms. The hall became quiet, and the sound of the wind outside seemed particularly clear. Yu Qiu stood aside, not daring to move, while Yun Heng leisurely filled the parrot's food container with water. He then asked, "Do you know why I asked you to teach the parrot to talk?" His voice was calm, yet Yu Qiu, feeling guilty, shivered with fear, fearful of saying the wrong thing. She pinched her palm and tentatively asked, "Because I have a nice voice?" Yun Heng paused, then turned and looked at her. Yu Qiu was startled and unsure by his dark eyes. Fearing he had sensed something hidden within her sleeve, she froze for a moment, then realized she had actually called herself I, and suddenly held her breath. You really know how to praise yourself, Yun Heng said, his voice unrecognizable. Can you talk now? The green-feathered parrot, which had been flapping its wings vigorously just moments before, now huddled against the iron frame like a quail, its neck tucked in. Yun Heng offered a nut to its mouth, but it didn't dare open its mouth to eat. Yu Qiu felt like she was now a parrot, and she longed to be speechless like it. Unfortunately, she wasn't as lucky as the parrot. If she didn't answer, she'd surely be killed. She stood with her hands down, wincing. I haven't learned yet. Did you really teach me well? Yes, I did. Yu Qiu's speech faltered. Yun Heng frowned slightly, glanced at her, then relaxed. He smiled. I've never heard anyone say you're a stutterer. Yu Qiu's heart tightened, and she sank to her knees. Stuttering? No. Those two words nearly made her bite her tongue. She hurriedly explained. It's not a stutter. The crown prince is so majestic. I, your servant, dare not speak nonsense. Her words were incoherent. After all, who would hire a stutterer to teach a parrot to speak? She was so anxious to explain because she was afraid the crown prince would punish Fu Ying. He had saved her, so how could she burden him again? She only hated herself for not living up to her expectations. It was one thing for her to be slow-witted, but when she was nervous, her mouth lost control. Yu Qiu was so frightened that his heart jumped when he didn't hear Yun Heng say anything. She was panicking when she heard Yun Heng laughing. Yu Qiu's hands and feet were trembling. She mustered up the courage to look up and saw Yun Heng twirling his fingertips and saying slowly, "This parrot looks ordinary in appearance, but its voice is exceptionally outstanding. It can compose poetry and songs without a problem. Now it can't make a sound. Do you know why? Yu Qiu didn't understand why he asked her that, but at least he didn't have the intention to kill her. She shook her head nervously. I'm stupid and don't know why. She was sitting below him, and Yun Heng could see the hideous scar on her cheek when he lowered his eyes. He paused, then casually changed the subject and asked, "Did your father ask you to scratch your face?" Yu Qiu bit her lip and didn't answer. He didn't care, and said, "Do you know why Lord Yu asked you to do this?" "He was afraid that my face would bring disaster." "Yes and no." Yun Heng chuckled, and the sweet laughter and the fragrance on his body floated in the air, like layers of ripples spreading. He said, "You should know." Yu Qiu lowered her head and said nothing. Yun Heng brushed off his robe and said slowly, "You're indeed dull. No wonder Yun Po said that about you." The spring deer singing banquet, ostensibly to entertain newly minted scholars, was actually a gathering to facilitate the selection of suitable husbands. Young ladies from various families were invited, and among them, Yu Qiu stood out as the most beautiful. However, she became a laughingstock due to the third prince Yun Po's remark. "She's beautiful, but unfortunately, she's too brainless." The unmarried girl's reputation was tarnished, leading to a gradual alienation among her former close friends. A cold reception, and a delayed marriage. Yu Qiu felt humiliated that day. Having undergone so many profound changes in the past 6 months, she could now remain unmoved by such taunts. She was truly not bright enough. Otherwise she wouldn't have been able to figure out who was trying to frame her father, their intentions, or what to do next. Afraid of saying anything wrong, she simply kept silent. "What are you looking for Fuying for?" This question frightened Yu Qiu to death. She only asked the maid that one question. But Yun Heng still knew. Her mind was in a mess and she was trembling, not knowing how to respond. Yun Heng smiled lightly and said, "Why do I see you shivering? Are you cold?" "No." Yu Qiu swallowed her saliva, muttered to herself in her heart, and then said in a trembling voice, "I'm not cold." Her lips were out of control, and her upper and lower lips collided with each other. Wanting to say some messed up words, she pinched her palm hard to hold back. Yun Heng seemed to hum lightly, and then said, "Go and make a pot of tea." Yu Qiu felt as if she had been pardoned. She said, "Ah," and hurried out of the hall. The coolness hit her face, diluting the lingering fragrance of the prince on her nose. Yu Qiu quickly covered her chest to breathe. What did the prince want to say to her? Didn't he come to see the parrot? Why did he ask such irrelevant questions? Yu Qiu pondered silently, not wanting to waste too much time. He calculated the time and brewed a fresh pot of tea. Rows of mullioned windows stood open, the half-set sun filtering through the latticework, casting a rhythmic pattern of light and shadow on the floor, stretching Yun Heng's shadow outward. Yu Qiu prepared himself before entering the room, carefully avoiding his shadow and tiptoeing to the table to pour tea. The steaming tea flowed into the white porcelain cup, its tender green tea leaves swirling back and forth in the water. Yu Qiu glanced at Yun Heng and saw him pinching the parrot's beak with his slender fingers, forcing the hooked bill open wide to feed the nuts, not even glancing at her. If he was going to poison him, this was the perfect time. "Pour yourself a cup too," Yun Heng suddenly said. Yu Qiu shuddered with fear, hurriedly stopping the tea from spilling, saying, "Yes," and bringing over another cup. Her heartbeat quickened, and she slightly turned sideways while placing the teacups. And with trembling fingertips, she poured the medicinal powder from her sleeve into the cups. The medicinal powder dissolved in water, and there was no difference between the 2 cups of tea placed side by side. Yu Qiu put away the paper bag, gathered her thoughts, turned around, and found Yun Heng staring at her. Her heart suddenly jumped, and she hurriedly put her trembling hands behind her back, secretly clutching the sleeve pocket where the paper bag was hidden. Yun Heng looked indifferent and loosened his grip. As soon as the green feathered parrot was free, it flapped its wings and tried to escape, but was restrained by the iron ring on its feet and could only land helplessly on the bird stand. "What do you want to do with Fuying?" Yu Qiu clutched her sleeve tightly and whispered, "I want to thank him for helping me kill that group of thieves that day." "He wasn't the one you killed," said Yun Heng. "Thank you so much, too. If he hadn't saved me, I would have been dead in the wilderness. Thank you, Prince, for taking me in." You are so kind. You are willing to keep this parrot, which can't even learn to talk. Yu Qiu's nagging voice became increasingly unclear in Yunheng's slightly narrowed eyes. After finally stopping, she pinched her wrist in regret. Yunheng sat down and tapped the table with his knuckles. Yu Qiu hurriedly placed the teacup next to him. Yunheng glanced at her and picked up the teacup. Steaming hot air slowly rose, casting a thin mist in front of his handsome features, making him look even gentler. The porcelain white edge approached his lips. Yu Qiu watched, not daring to breathe. The pale red lips parted slightly, but stopped suddenly when they were about to touch the tea. Yunheng raised an eyebrow. Why are you looking at me? Yu Qiu suddenly lowered his head, not daring to look around anymore. A moment later, the teacup was set down. Its original 7/10 full, now half empty. Teach it to speak properly. And think about your father in your free time. After all, you're the daughter of a minister. It would be embarrassing for your father to have an empty head. Yu Qiu nodded, her lips curled, and watched the dark golden skirt of her robe flutter as she slowly exited the small hall. The doors and windows were wide open, letting in a chilly breeze that quickly dissipated the lingering fragrance. Yu Qiu looked up and saw that the sun had already set outside the window, leaving the surroundings dim. In the distance, servants were climbing a ladder to hang lanterns, and nearby, the last remaining leaf on a withered branch was precariously falling. She sighed deeply, picked up the untouched cup of tea, and looked at her own shattered face reflected in the water. She took a deep breath and brought the cup to her lips. She mustered the courage to poison it, but couldn't bring herself to pass the poisoned cup to Yunheng. Since we're all going to die anyway, I might as well be free now and save myself from torture, she murmured. She lied to Yunheng and wanted to find Fuying not only to thank him, but also because she felt guilty. She thanked him for saving her, but also felt guilty for being used. 3 days ago, a carrier pigeon came to Yu Qiu with a secret letter. She recognized the pigeon. It was from Yu Yanzong. The fathers of the Yu and Yu families were former classmates and had a friendship of over 30 years. As close as family, Yu Qiu grew up with Yu Yanzong and Yu Manshou, and after Madame Yu passed away, Yu Qiu called Madame Yu her godmother. When Yu Qingshu was imprisoned, Yu Qiu was desperate and went to the Yu residence for help at night. The door of the Yu residence was closed, and all Yu Qiu received from behind the heavy red door was a single sentence: Miss, please go back. No matter how Yu Qiu pleaded, she only received this single sentence. Yu Qiu had only received help from Yu Yanzong once, when she was surrounded by street thugs. Yu Yanzong drove the people away, looked at her deeply, and left. Yu Yanzong came to her this time and said that he knew who had framed Yu Qingshu and asked Yu Qiu to go out. However, he did not tell Yu Qiu the murderer behind the scenes. He only said that because of his help that time, the Yu family was implicated and he had found a backer. As long as Yu Qiu gave the packet of powder to the prince, the Yu family could be saved. He also promised to avenge Yu Qingshu. I don't want to hurt anyone, nor do I want to repay kindness with enmity, Yu Qiu whispered, tears streaming from her eyes. One was blocked by the scar on her face, and the other rolled down her soft cheek into the teacup, shattering her reflection. But she had no choice. When they met that day, Yu Yanzong poisoned her. I know you're timid and don't want to hurt anyone, but I can't help it. Your mother died a long time ago, and it was she who took care of you. I saved you when you nearly fell off a cliff that spring. And now my family is in trouble because of you. Yu Yanzong didn't dare meet Yu Qiu's eyes. Turning away, each attack of this poison becomes more and more painful. The 5th time, no medicine has worked. You, take care of yourself. For the past 3 days, every night, Yu Qiu had felt a cramping stomach ache, as if her internal organs were being pierced by sharp eagle claws. With each attack, Yu Yanzong's words echoed in her mind, causing her to break out in a cold sweat and unable to even cry out in pain. The pain had intensified day by day, becoming unbearable. While Yu Qiu feared the crown prince, she also felt gratitude. It was the crown prince who took her in, otherwise, she couldn't imagine the situation she would have ended up in. She couldn't repay kindness with hatred. But it was also true that Yu Yanzong had saved her life. Both sides were indebted to her. How should she choose? Yu Qiu felt it was so difficult. Her family had been going through a huge change for half a year. And she didn't even know who her enemy was. Now she was forced to make a choice. But that's how the world is. Some people are very smart and can see through others at a glance, while others can't see the truth even when it's right in front of them. When encountering problems, they can only grope in the dark. It's in vain that my father and I donate a lot of money to disaster-stricken areas every year. Good people don't get good rewards. And bad people are always at large. If there is a next life, I will also. She wanted to say that she would also be a bad person. But when it came to her mouth, she changed it to something else. I don't want to accept favors from others anymore. Yu Qiu's voice was hoarse, and tears fell like beads from a broken chain. 16 years of life were like a long scroll spread out before her eyes. But she didn't dare to look at it. She remembered what Yu Qingshu said before he died. Don't be afraid, your father is waiting for her. Life is full of hatred. Life is full of hatred. Yu Qiu bit her lip and raised her head to drink the tea. Tell me again, how did I die? A caged platform. I was tied up high up with a knife hanging above my head. The knife was pulled by a rope, and the other end was tied to the outside of the cage. There was a burning candlestick below. If you don't want me to die, you have to knock over the candlestick outside the cage, Yu Qiu repeated, holding back his tears. Yu Qingshu nodded. Then what? There are several hungry wolves with bared fangs outside the cage. If you go out, you will be eaten alive by the hungry wolves. Yu Qiu's red and swollen eyes were filled with tears, and he cried uncontrollably, Daddy, you died like this. Yu Qingshu was silent for a while, handed a handkerchief to his daughter, and said curiously, isn't this forcing one of his father and daughter to die? Who can come up with such a vicious method? Yu Qiu shook her head with tears in her eyes, and said in a hoarse voice, Daddy, don't you know it? How should I know? Yu Qingshu was full of confusion. Who told you I knew it? I shouldn't have. I haven't offended anyone, and you never go out of the door. Let alone. Yu Qiu was stunned. The maid said you slept for a long time today and couldn't be woken up. But did the third prince's words give you a nightmare? Yu Qingshu stroked Yu Qiu's long black hair and soothed her. Don't worry. The third prince's words are always unpleasant to the ear. His Majesty has already taught him a lesson after the court was dismissed today. Hasn't the apology been sent to the palace? You must have been in a nightmare and didn't notice it. It was early spring. The deer singing banquet had just passed, and only 2 days had passed since Yu Qiu was mocked by the third prince. You are beautiful, but unfortunately you don't have much brains. Yu Qiu drank poison and died. When she opened her eyes, she found herself back at the beginning of the year. She had been confused for half a day. She finally waited until Yu Qingshu returned from his shift and hurriedly told him about her past life. But he didn't believe her at all. Yu Qiu didn't care about the third prince's affairs, and said anxiously, It's not a nightmare. It's real. It's absolutely true. I experienced it myself. At this time, her long hair was uncombed and draped behind her in a messy manner. Her eyebrows were tightly furrowed, and her eyes were filled with tears, full of fear and lingering fear. Yu Qingshu was heartbroken to see his only daughter so haggard, but he couldn't let her confuse dreams with reality. He sighed softly and coaxed her, even if what you said is true. There is still your Uncle Qi. He can't just ignore you, right? Even if he doesn't care. Your Uncle Yu and Yanzong are still here. Yu Qiu was stunned for a moment, then burst into tears, threw herself on his shoulder, and sobbed, Uncle Qi, he's gone. And Uncle Yu refused to help. Yu Qingshu was stunned. This daughter was spoiled by him, but she never took anything to heart. He hadn't seen Yu Qiu so aggrieved for a long time. Yu Qiu sat quietly, letting him cry for a while, pondering, let's not talk about your Uncle Yu for now. Jade Qi has no friends or relatives. So where could he go? Jade Qi had been responsible for protecting Yu Qiu since she was 6 years old. A skilled martial artist, he was considered half-master within the mansion. Yu Qiu had never imagined he would abandon her at her lowest point. But the fact was, the two people her father trusted most. One left with a silent farewell, The other closed the door, leaving Yu Qiu, who had just turned 16, adrift and helpless in her most difficult and helpless moments, enduring countless hardships. She couldn't explain it clearly, and no matter what she said, Yu Qingshu couldn't convince her. Tears streamed down her face in anxiety. Yu Qiu wiped her tears and suddenly remembered the jade pendant that inexplicably appeared beside her when she woke up. She hurriedly showed the thing to Yu Qingshu. I have evidence. This was given to me by the prince's guard. The prince agreed to help me after seeing it. The prince is virtuous and elegant, and he behaves like a gentleman. Even if no one speaks for you, he will help you. Yu Qingshu waved his hand. Unable to bear it, Yu Qiu handed the jade pendant to his nose. He tilted his head back and took a quick glance at it, and said, how can such an ordinary jade pendant be a token of trust? Aren't they all sold on street vendors? Yu Qiu ignored his evaluation of the prince and argued. Look carefully. It looks inconspicuous, but it is by no means an ordinary object. Seeing Yu Qingshu disagreed, Yu Qiu became impatient, although she also thought the jade pendant was ordinary. How could a token of trust that the prince recognized be an ordinary thing? You don't believe it? Well, just wait. I'll take it to see the prince, and see if he recognizes it. If he doesn't recognize it, he will think you are crazy. If he recognizes it, he will wonder where you got it from. Yu Qingshu's words made Yu Qiu unable to breathe and coughed while holding her chest. The former is fine, but if it is really the latter, the prince will definitely send someone to assassinate her. Maybe Fuying will come. The jade pendant was rejected, and Yu Qiu was very depressed. She drooped her head, just like Yi Lujun, who had been bullied by wind and frost. Because his wife died young, Yu Qingshu doted on his daughter very much. He was most afraid of her crying, so he wanted to cheer her up and asked, you said that Dad died in your dream, so does Dad have any regrets? Yu Qiu thought about it. Dad did have regrets before he died. One was that he couldn't marry her off early and find a reliable place for her to settle down. The other was, she blinked away the tears in her eyes and said seriously, Dad, you regret most for restricting me from cultivating my character, saying that I should eat and drink, and that I should enjoy myself while I am alive. Yu Qingshu frowned, looked at her quietly for a moment, and slowly said, Choer, tell me honestly, it was because you were greedy for food that you made up these dreams about past lives and present lives. Right? Madame Yu died when Yu Qiu was 8 years old. After that, Yu Qingshu never remarried. He raised such a daughter carefully, hoping that she would be healthy and live a long life. Therefore, he always followed the health tips in medical books. Talk less, think less, have less desires, and naturally sleep less. He spoke less, something his father and daughter had tried for years to achieve but failed. He also had fewer worries in his heart. Madame Yu died from excessive worrying, and Shang Yu Qingshu paid particular attention to this. Over the years, he raised Yu Qiu to be healthy and well-fed, so that everything passed by without leaving any traces on his mind. He also had fewer appetites. The Yu family practiced health preservation, only serving meat 5 days a month. No matter what the cook cooked, they would sprinkle a spoonful of salt on it. At home, Yu Qiu could only eat until she was 70% full. Naturally, he slept less. No one in the mansion slept in. Everything else was fine, except for his uncontrollable appetite. Since childhood, Yu Qiu had loved playing with Yu Yanzong and his sister. One of the reasons being that Yu Yanzong would take her out for delicious food every now and then. Yu Qiu had never expected her father to be so suspicious of her. Her vision went dark, and she held her forehead and said, who would make up a story just to eat? She stopped abruptly. There really were people who would make up a lie just for a bite to eat. Yu Qiu's eyes lit up, and she said urgently, I know, father. If you don't believe me, then just wait. In a few days, the 4th prince will host a banquet for the 6th prince, and both will be poisoned. And a fight will ensue. This incident in her previous life had nothing to do with their family. The mention of food had only just brought it to Yu Qiu's mind. No making up stories about the royal family. Yu Qingshu scolded. He clearly didn't believe her. But Yu Qiu didn't fear his scolding. Nor did she argue. She simply shouted, Just wait and see. The conversation with Yu Qiu fizzled out. Unable to convince her, Yu Qiu could only wait. Waiting for her words to come true. She clutched the jade pendant. The only thing that proved she had truly died. She alternately recalled her past life's experiences and pondered what to do next. Jade and the Yu family were undoubtedly untrustworthy. The man who had framed her father was ruthless. And even guarding against him might not be enough. She needed to find a backer. Yu Qiu knew very little about the affairs of the court. She counted on her fingers for a long time, but could only think of a few ministers such as Fang Taifu and General Gongyi, and a few princes. Before his death, Yu Qiu said that the person who harmed him was someone his family could not afford to offend. And that he must be a powerful person. She had to be more cautious. Otherwise it would be disastrous if she ran into someone else's hands. Yu Qiu thought about it over and over, but couldn't come up with a solution. So she changed her mind. The past life was gone. But the favors that should be repaid still had to be repaid. Fu Ying and the prince had both done her a favor. But how to repay them became a problem. Yu Qiu tossed and turned for half the night. And only when the sound of roosters crowing could be heard from the distant streets did she feel a little sleepy. She tucked the jade pendant under her pillow and fell asleep. The sleep was not peaceful. In a daze, Yu Qiu arrived at a magnificent palace. With intricate gold inlays, golden steps and jade walls. She seemed to be in an inner chamber. But she felt strange and unfamiliar. Hazy. She looked around as she walked out, holding onto the bright golden tent. After a few steps, she came upon a golden pillar carved with a dragon. Coiled atop it, a massive dragon glared down, its eyes like bells, its 5 claws raised, a lifelike sight, as if ready to pounce at the approaching figure. Yu Qiu's heart trembled. A 5-clawed dragon, a symbol of the emperor. Right? Where was she now? Should she go forward or backward? How could she leave? She paused, glancing around, blinded by the glittering brilliance of birds and golden treasures. Squinting, she suddenly saw a dark red liquid slowly seeping across the white jade floor ahead. Hesitantly, Yu Qiu approached. As she neared the curtain, she caught a whiff of the strong scent of blood. It was a smell all too familiar. Instantly, a chill rose from the soles of her feet, spreading through her limbs. She froze in place, aware that the air was thick with an icy, murderous aura. Kill them. What do you want? A voice said coldly. Yu Qiu panicked and tried to turn and flee. But her legs were weak and wouldn't obey. Intellectually, she knew she should hide. That ignorance was best. But a voice within urged her to lift the curtain and peer inside. Past lives flashed through her mind. And finally, she gritted her teeth and lifted a corner of the curtain. Following the bloodstains on the ground, she saw countless corpses piled in the hall. Flesh and blood swirling everywhere. The 4 golden pillars supporting the hall, coiled with dragons, had not escaped the ravages. Like the nearby gilded mural of 1,000 miles of rivers and mountains. All splattered with crimson blood. In the center, a mass of courtiers in dragon robes knelt. Yu Qiu's face was pale, her heart pounding like a drum. She silently pressed a trembling hand to her chest, trying to muffle the pounding. She bravely looked upward. The animal skin rug on the floor was soaked with blood, the pattern no longer discernible. Ascending the steps, she saw dark, gold-threaded boots tightly bound around her slender calves, their strength faintly visible. Yu Qiu closed her eyes, gathered her strength, took 2 slow breaths, and then opened them with a fearless determination. In the hall sat a man. The lavish dragon throne, a symbol of supreme power. Beneath his feet, his blood-stained robes were casually pulled up over his knees. With 1 foot on the throne and the other supporting himself, he leaned forward slightly, looking down at the kneeling civil and military officials below. Atop the enormous throne lay a figure. Slumped limply, he wore a dragon robe. A large knife lodged in his heart. Blood gushed out, staining most of the throne crimson. The prince killed his father and committed a crime. What a reckless act! A minister kneeling on the steps shouted angrily. But before he could finish his words, he saw the man on the dragon throne pull out a bloody long knife. And immediately stopped as if his neck was strangled. The prince calmly flicked the blade. Blood dripped like beads from the cold edge. The minister's face flushed, and he reached out to touch it, and saw that his fingers were stained with bright red blood. The blood came from the long knife, which was pulled out from the heart of the deceased emperor. He shuddered and suddenly bowed his head and knelt down. The prince put the long knife back to its original place, and the sound of the sharp blade piercing the flesh rang clearly in the hall. Yu Qiu took a deep breath and lowered the golden gauze curtain with a flick of his wrist. Such a small action attracted the attention of the people above. Through the gauze curtain, Yu Qiu clearly saw a sinister gaze piercing over. Those eyes were like sharp blades, whistling with murderous intent as they struck at her, as if they were about to strangle her in the next moment. Yu Qiu shuddered and opened her eyes. Before her was a turquoise gauze curtain, and her hands unconsciously clenched. Beneath her was an exquisite pearwood round bed with a landscape pattern. Following the sound of crisp birdsong, she looked out the open window, where the sky was hazy and dew-covered peach blossoms swayed slightly in the wind. It was almost dawn. She had had a nightmare. Yu Qiu collapsed limply on the couch, her chest heaving violently and her breaths coming in short gasps. She tugged at the quilt on her body, and with that movement she realized she was already covered in cold sweat. Her hair soaked. Lying on her back to soothe her mind, Yu Qiu couldn't understand why she had such a dream. Was it the prince killing his father to seize power? She clutched her chest and gasped, shaking her head to try to forget the nightmare. Crown Prince Yun Heng was a good man, and it was impossible for him to do such a dehumanizing thing. Just as she forced herself to forget the nightmare, someone in the deep palace across countless streets and alleys slowly opened his eyes.